Today we're going to talk about why a woman should never pay for a date or split a bill. She shouldn't pay, she shouldn't offer, she shouldn't split. Nothing. I am taking the absolute most extreme position possible in this, and for really good reason. All right. This is going to piss off a lot of men. I don't care. It's not actually going to piss off men, it's going to piss off boys who don't understand how to take care of a woman and why it's so important to have this provider mindset. That's okay. I'm okay with pissing off those boys because it's a really important topic. Now, to preface this whole thing, this whole conversation that we're going to have around this, I'm going to say that my mindset for most of my life, on the hundreds and hundreds of dates that I have gone on with women, is that men shouldn't be the provider. Why should they? Men, women, we're all human. We should both be playing. We should be splitting. We shouldn't have this expectation. I had that mindset. Why did I have that mindset? Because I was a boy. All right. That is not the mindset of a man. And if women decide to enable, tolerate that kind of mindset, then they are going to continue. They're going to attract boys. They're going to date boys, and they might marry a boy and have a child with a boy. Do you want that? No, you really don't want that. That's a nightmare for a woman to deal with. Okay. Doesn't matter if a woman has a job. Doesn't matter if she makes good money. It doesn't even matter if she makes more money than the man. Okay. Now, why would I have such a mindset? Why would I have such a mindset like this? Here's the way that I think of it. This is one aspect of why I think this way. A man's job is to find a woman that he wants to claim, be in a relationship with, and eventually marry, or whatever you want to call, like, claiming a woman for life. All right, that level of commitment. And if he's not doing that while dating, then he's wasting a woman's time. Okay? Women don't have that time to waste, or at least depending on where they are in their age and everything, right? Unlike men, they have a biological clock, and it is ticking. It is ticking. It is ticking. It is ticking. Not just with pregnancy, but just what a man is going to typically prefer a woman who is younger. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that a really feminine woman who is older can't attract really awesome masculine men, but just as a preference, that's what men are typically going to prefer. So it's in a woman's best interest not to have her time wasted. Okay. So the mindset of a really masculine man is going to be this: I am dating to find a woman to claim and to take care of. And I don't need her money because I'm a provider. I don't need her to split bills with because I am a provider. I don't need her to offer to pay for dates because I am a provider. I am going to go from meeting a woman to claiming a woman for life in the shortest, most reasonable time span possible, because why spend any longer doing that? Okay. What a lot of men do is they waste a woman's time. And part of the reason they waste a woman's time is because, why not? She's paying for dates. She's splitting the bills. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Now, I'm not saying there's no other incentives for a man, but I'm saying men with that mindset, who already have that boy mindset, it's a big deal. What's the rush? Right? There's a lot of women, many of my clients, who have literally years of their life wasted by these kind of men. But imagine if a woman had the mindset of, I'm never going to pay for myself. And not as an entitled way. I'm not talking about turning women into gold diggers. Okay. This is something that men just, especially men, maybe some women as well, just really don't get. It's not about women being gold diggers. It's not about having an entitlement, sensitive entitlement to a specific man's money in any kind of way. Okay. It's just about knowing that she is worthy of being taken care of financially without having to contribute in that way. Okay, that's not entitlement. Now, a lot of women can have that entitlement. That's very different. I'm not talking about that. Because if a woman has that sense of entitlement, guess what? She's not going to truly feel grateful. And then a man's not going to feel truly received and feel that gratitude from her. And then he's not going to want to do it. So that's a bit of a different issue for a different video. But I'm just talking about a woman who knows that she is worthy of being provided for. And if she does, then she's not going to have any tolerance for a man who's going to be expecting her to pay for anything until marriage. Now, marriage is different, right? Once a man has claimed a woman for life, okay, and she is his. And if she chooses to keep working, now we're talking a totally different situation, right? My belief, which is also very extreme with this, but I think the only thing that makes sense is that at that point, anything that a woman earns is his to manage and invest and choose what to do with. And he decides to give her whatever kind of spending allowance makes sense, right? And obviously that's coming out of devotion, not being out of being a control freak and financially abusing a woman. It's out of love. That's what I do for my wife. I give her an allowance so she doesn't have to think about anything. I did that when she was working, and I do that now when she's not working as well. But that's when she's been fully claimed. That's different. Okay. And of course, working at that point should be a choice for a woman, not something that she has to do because a man is too incompetent to be the sole provider. Again, that's a separate issue for a separate video. But during the dating phase, say like once a man moves in with a woman, or a woman moves in with a man, right? A man needs to have the mindset of, I am moving this towards marriage. All I'm doing here is finding out if this is a woman that I want to marry or not. And as soon as I know for sure, as soon as I know that I'm not risking my assets, that I'm not wasting my time, that this is the right kind of one, this is the woman that I want, this is the woman that I want to be the mother of my child or mother of my children, of our children, whatever. As soon as he knows that, then he marries her, and then that's that. Okay? So what's that going to do when a woman has a zero tolerance policy for splitting bills? He's going to have that mindset because he's not going to want to be, unless he's rich, unless money doesn't matter to him at all, he's not going to be wanting to foot the bill for a woman who he has no interest in marrying, right? When he's not taking this seriously, when he's still in little boy mode, because he's not a man with a plan working towards claiming a woman for life. Okay? Women get trapped in these situations because they enable that kind of behavior. They enable that kind of financial splitting mentality. By the way, if anyone has questions, I want to hear some questions. This is one of my favorite topics of all time. Okay, so if you got a question, it's got to be about this topic, about splitting bills, about the dating process with money and everything. But if you got a question, you got a comment, definitely share. See, here's my mindset around this. And this is the mindset of a man who his instincts are online. His masculine instincts are fully online. There's no other mindset that a man could have if his instincts are fully online. It's the exact same thing with why my wife and I decided to have a child. All right, we have a daughter, 13-month-old daughter. Why did I decide to have a daughter? Is it so that she could help me do the dishes? Is it so that she could help me pay the bills? Is it so that when I take her out for ice cream, she could pay for half of it? No. What does my daughter bring to the table? What my daughter brings to the table is I love providing for her. Her radiance, she'd be, of course, she would be respecting us as parents. She'd be following us as parents and everything. But we had a daughter because we love her, because we love to give to her, right? I love to give to my daughter without her giving me anything in return other than respect. That's literally it. Okay. And it's the same thing with a woman. Obviously, a woman is not an 11 or 13-month-old daughter. She's not a child, but it's the same dynamic. It's like, why would a man? What does a woman bring to the table with dating and living together or whatever? Well, she brings her radiance. She brings her respect. She brings her submission. She brings her vulnerability. She doesn't need to bring financial provision. That's not why I would date a woman. Now I'm married, but like if I was dating, I don't need that shit from a woman. I can take care of myself, and I want to take care of a woman. Right? I want to take care of a woman. This is what women need to understand. So do men. Some men need to understand it. A masculine, healthy man is going to want to financially provide for a woman who is grateful and respectful to him, right? Men, like, to be clear, men don't. One of the reasons men don't want to provide for a woman is because they've got their own self-worth issues. They've been screwed over by women because they're attracting the wrong kind of women, because of women's entitlement, because they're not truly leading. They're actually submitting to a woman's expectations, which isn't going to feel good. They feel like they have to do it to be good enough for a woman. That's not leading, okay? That is supplicating. That is that's covert compliance, covert submission. That's not, which is what so many men do. That's literally what most men do, including most men who seem like providers. Again, and that's going to be a separate issue. But masculine men just want to take care of a woman. It just feels good. Just like it feels good to take care of my daughter. When she's 4 years old, it's going to feel great to take her out for ice cream and me paying for it. It's going to feel much less good to take her out for ice cream and be like, hey, you use your allowance this time to pay for both of us. What? Like, that would be ridiculous. Anybody could objectively say that's ridiculous, but it's the exact same thing with a man and a woman, because it's not that a woman can't provide for herself. It's that by dating, by choosing to date a woman, the man is taking the role of the provider, of the leader, of the one who is covering her. He is communicating that I am looking to see if I want to claim you for life. That's what should be communicated. If he's not communicating that, then he's still a boy. All right, let's see what we got here. How does being claimed work when you're past child? Well, when you're past childbearing years, it's the same thing, right? Obviously, there's a few differences if you're not having children, or if you already do have children. But a man is still claiming your heart. A man is still claiming you as his woman. And it's going to mean certain things. So it doesn't matter if you're capable of having children. It doesn't matter if you want to have children in any kind of way. Obviously, that biological ticking clock is less important, but everything that I've said is still 100% valid. Nothing else changes in that respect. And it's still, a waste of a woman's time if a man is just jerking her around and making her pay bills and stuff, because he's not actually serious about claiming her as his for the rest of his life, right? And I really got to harp on this, because just think about how much more seriously a man is going to be when it's like this. I'm putting a lot of investment into this, right? It's like if he's putting investment into his company, it's like he's not going to want to invest in it if he knows that in a year, like he doesn't even want to do this business, if it's a stupid business, if he's just using it for some other reason, right? But if he knows this business, this is my baby, I'm going to nurture this business and make it so successful and amazing and awesome, right? He's going to take it seriously, and he's going to want to invest in it. Like in my business, I've invested over $150,000 in coaching programs, and not to mention other stuff, because I'm serious about it, because I'm dead serious about it. If I knew it was a business I was going to throw away in 6 months, why would I invest in it? It doesn't make sense. Okay. So you're going to see what kind of man he really is. You're going to see whether he's willing to actually invest. And for women who have self-worth problems, who don't realize how intrinsically valuable they are, without having to provide anything, without having to cover themselves, that's going to bring up a lot of fear and discomfort, isn't it? Right? Especially, even if you're able to have a handle on the dating part, like just, having them take you on dates, if you decide to move in together, do you still believe that you have so much self-worth that you should never have to pay a bill? As soon as you start paying bills, you're communicating that you lack self-worth. The first bill that you pay, the first banana that you pay from the grocery store, the first electricity bill that you split, that's what you're communicating, a lack of self-worth. If a man expects you to pay for that, you're with the wrong man. Now, here's the other thing around this, though, you got to understand is that if you are attracting those wrong kind of men, there's something going on with you as well. It's not like this isn't about putting things on the man. This is always a co-creation. So you're attracting men who are more of that 50-50 mentality, that boy mentality, rather than the really dominant masculine men who just love providing for a woman, who do not want a woman to pay, who actually feel less good, literally feels bad if a woman pays for anything. Not like a bad out of like shame or guilt, just bad like, man, I just wanted to take care of my woman. Like that was the joy for me, is taking care of my woman. And now I didn't get to do that, right? You won't be attracting those kind of men because your level of radiance, your level of vulnerability, submission, respect, ability to use feminine communication, be fully in your heart, being able to flow, being fully in your feelings, heart on your sleeve, fully in your self-worth, communicating all your needs and feelings without holding back in any kind of way, is not fully online. And so you're not attracting those really masculine kind of men that can take care of you and that want to take care of you. That's a problem. That's a problem, because then the men that you do attract, it's like the more masculine a woman becomes, the less inspired a man is to take care of her, even if he's a really masculine man. It's just like, oh, this feels like taking care of my male roommate. Like at its worst, that's what it feels like. Why the hell should I pay? It's like, I don't want to take care of a man. Now, he's not saying that you're a man, but energetically, the more of a man that you are, the less interested he's going to be in cherishing you. The less interested he's going to be in providing for you. So that's why, or one of the reasons why, these shifts are damn important, like really, really important to make. I mean, unless you want to be stuck with a boy who makes you split, 30% of the electricity bill and the grocery bill and stuff. If you want that, fine. But I think it would be a lot more fun for a woman to have a really masculine man who wants to take care of her, who wants to pay for her, and who gets off on that, who literally gets off on being the one in charge of that financially. How do you redirect when you have a history of enabling already established in the relationship? Oh, gotcha. Well, you got to learn feminine communication. You got to learn how to communicate your feelings, your needs, your problems, desires in a feminine way, and stop enabling at the same time. That's what we help women do in the academy. There's a lot of women who are stuck in depolarized relationships where they're providing or partly providing or whatever. And those are hard patterns to break out of. And when you try, men are going to get really butthurt most of the time. They're going to get really upset about it. And so you really need to know what you're doing, or ideally you should really know what you're doing to minimize the painful shifts that are going to need to be made, and to actually truly break out of those patterns. Because if you don't know what you're doing and you're just kind of trying and making mistakes, you can actually make things a lot worse potentially, or you're just going to remain fully stuck, or it's just such a slow, aggravating, painful process trying to figure this out. And it's just a lot easier really to just get support in shifting this much faster. Tell me if you think the idea of an allowance for an entrepreneurial woman is a bit disempowering. Tell me your thoughts on this. No, it's disempowering if a woman like that has a master. I won't talk about this too much, but because it's slightly off topic, it's more for another video. But briefly, it's disempowering for a woman who's more masculine, who has not embodied this. For a feminine woman, it feels amazing, even if she was an entrepreneur. For a masculine woman who's identified with control and independence and all of that stuff, yeah, she might not like it. But ultimately, as a man, that's your job to lead her out of that stuff, because she's stuck in that mindset. And that mindset's not serving her. When I first introduced the whole allowance thing to my wife, she's like, fuck no. She didn't actually say that, but that was basically her mindset. I don't care. Like, I do care in the sense that I don't want her to be feeling bad, but I'm not going to keep her there, because that's going to cause both of us to suffer. That's going to cause me to lose inspiration to serve her, and it's going to leave her more stressed and drained and not having fun. So I'm leading her out of that, because I know how much better she's going to be when she's actually feminine and loves to be provided for. Because guess what? That's where she is now. And she's told me, we had this conversation like, man, I never would have thought that I would like just getting an allowance and being taken care of like this. That's right. When your wounds start to heal, that's what happens for a woman. All right, next one. May I know your thoughts on taking on the debt a woman accrued before getting together? Yeah, like when a man decides to claim a woman for life, then he should take on that debt. Now, he shouldn't do that before he decides to claim her for life, though. That he should provide for her as far as taking care of, like if they move in together, then all the bills and stuff. And if he's going on dates with her, then paying for all of those bills. But until a man decides to claim her, like you're mine for good, he shouldn't be dealing with any of that debt stuff. That's for a woman to deal with, or her father, ideally. Regardless of culture, in Sweden, men expect to split the bills on dates, and even when they're serious. And that sucks. Yeah, it sucks. There's some countries that are more emasculated than others, right? Sweden is definitely one of them. And there's certainly other cultures like that, and that's really unfortunate. You can't logic a man out of this stuff. Okay, all you can do is become as radiant and feminine as possible to inspire him. So even if he has this totally BS backwards mindset of 50-50 or whatever, that's what he believes up here. But in his body, he feels something different. I want to take care of this woman. I want to cherish this woman. Man, it actually feels good to provide for this woman. Man, putting that smile on her face when I paid for everything instead of getting her to split it 50-50, man, that feels good, right? That's what a feminine embodied woman, truly feminine embodied, like fully in her feminine self-worth is doing. That's the kind of effect that she has on a man. Just like when a man is truly dominant and competent at leading a woman, he can take a really masculinized woman with all this entitled stuff and other garbage that's blocking her feminine flow and get her really turned on when he starts leading her. She's like, man, I thought I wanted a 50-50 relationship, but I don't know what's happening to me. I'm just feeling turned on all the time, right? Did he have to logic her into that? No. He did that by being dominant, okay? It's the same. A woman has that same power, but you've got to make those shifts. And there's a lot of shifts to make, especially the more masculinized that you are, the more wounded, the more disconnected you are, the more that you need that support to make these shifts, because it can take a really, really long time. And it's really difficult to do it if you are providing for yourself at the same time, or even worse, have children to provide for at the same time. Another question: how does a man ensure she's not being a gold digger, using him for money, leaves him and gets all his money and goes on dates? Dates, Chad. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, this is something that a man should be able to feel. A big part of this, like when a man's instinct is fully online, he's going to feel in his body when there is no entitlement issues. It's just going to feel good to take care of his woman. He's going to be able to feel her gratitude. She's not going to be pulling at him with like expectations or stuff like that. There's this one woman that I dated. I almost never had dated those types of women, by the way, right? So a lot of this is just your own energy as a man. If you're attracting all these gold diggers, that's something to look in with you. It's like there's one time that I think it happened, and it was this woman who asked me to buy her an ice cream or something, and it just didn't feel good. And I don't even know if she used feminine communication or not, but either way, the energy was messed up. And I'm like, nope, not doing that. I didn't want to. I didn't. Now, of course, I was also a cheapskate at the time, so that was part of that. But I know that even with the man I am now, I would have felt that in some kind of way. And a man really needs to learn how to trust his body and not gaslight himself and recognize what his body is telling him, just like a woman. Just like a woman needs to learn to understand what her body's telling her about a man. You're gonna figure it out relatively quickly. Or you should be able to figure out really quickly if you're not lying to yourself. If you're listening to your body, you're not lying to yourself, and you understand what your body is actually telling you, and you're really in your dominance and leading her out of either getting rid of a woman like that, or if you think that there's some potential with her, then leading her out of all the entitlement and into truly healing. right? Women that have that entitlement problem are actually masculine. That's something to understand. They might seem to show up in a feminine way, but it's a feminine costume. That's not true femininity, right? There are no truly feminine gold diggers. There's only masculine women who may or may not present as feminine on the surface because they got a feminine costume going on. If you're masculine, you're going to know the difference. Like if your instincts are fully online. If a man, all right, how we doing? We got 45 people on. All right, that's exciting. If a man asks you to contribute to dates, what is a good response? Your book, Irresistibly Feminine, is paradigm shifting. Thank you for your work. Yeah, I mean, you got to start with your feelings. You got to start with, may I share what I'm feeling? And then you share exactly what you're feeling as cleanly as possible, as vulnerably as possible. And then, of course, that may or may not inspire him from the beginning, and there's a lot more to that conversation. But the most important thing is your feelings, and you got to honor your feelings. Because how are you going to feel in your body if a man's leading you to split on dates? Not good. You're never going to feel, oh man, I feel so, I mean, maybe you might have some kind of wound around, pleasing a man, approval seeking, but that's all deep wounding stuff, right? If your feminine instinct is online, that doesn't feel good to provide for a man. That doesn't feel good for a man to lead me to split bills or to pay for this date. I've done that to a lot of women, like hundreds of women. I've literally done that. Not a single one shared how they felt. Not a single one. And I think every single one did it. Every single one complied with my leadership. And I say complied rather than submitted, because a woman can't truly submit to that. A woman cannot honor her heart by following that leadership. She can only comply. She can only dishonor her heart out of fear of abandonment, out of fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being seen as a gold digger, all of that kind of stuff. And this is where it gets hard, right? Like, we're talking about big fears for a woman. To be able to honor your heart, that's scary. That in situations like this and so many other situations. And that's one of the reasons why I really recommend getting support with this. Because not only do you need to know exactly how to communicate so that you're actually communicating in a way where a man could possibly be inspired to take care of your heart. But second, to move through all of that fear and really understand how to navigate all of these situations, right? Because when you comply to that, you are enabling his wounds and you're enabling your own wounds. You're enabling everybody to stay stuck. When you honor yourself, you share your feelings, you are working on breaking out of that pattern. Super important. How to respond if a woman doesn't offer to pay, she's selfish. How to respond if a woman doesn't offer to pay, she's selfish or a user. Shouldn't I then get sex? Yeah. So, a lot of men have a very transactional mindset when it comes to relationships. Like, I gave an analogy as like a woman's a gumball machine, right? You put the quarter in. Where's the gumball? I put the friggin' quarter in. Where's my gumball? And it's a very primitive, wounded mindset to have, right? Even in my man-whore days, I never had that mindset. I didn't think, and I would always pay for first dates, no matter what. I never felt like a woman owed me anything. And also, I saw sex as a gift that I was giving her anyway, that I would enjoy. So I couldn't possibly see it as a transactional thing and it isn't. It shouldn't be a transactional thing in any way. But men have it wrong around this, right? A man's job is to provide financial provision as well as emotional protection to a woman, right? When they have sex, it's because a woman feels safe and right to do so. And what she does need to be doing right from the beginning is respecting his leadership, which doesn't necessarily mean doing everything that he says, especially if he's leading her to do things that would dishonor her, but she needs to be communicating with respect. That's the only thing that a man should, we'll call it deserves, right? That a man deserves. If a man does that, then really the only thing to do is share your feelings. Just vulnerably share your feelings. Will that change every man's mind? No, it won't. But a woman's not there to change every man's mind. If a man is unable to understand a woman, care for a woman's heart, understand her feelings, and lead, not based on her feelings, but incorporating her feelings in his leadership, then he's not a man that's right for relationships. Not a man who's right to continue going on dates with. And then you have your answer, and you just flow away from that. That's all you can do. What about paying for things like manicures, etc., before marriage? This question came up in the Facebook group, I think. Well, ultimately, that depends on what a man wants to do. Does a woman deserve that? Like that's going extra. We'll call it that. If a man wants to and he has the financial resources to, then sure, great. If let's say it was my wife, like say I was dating my wife back then, but I wasn't a selfish piece of crap back then, like I was. What would I do? I probably would not. And that was because I'm not in the financial position that I'm in right now. And, I was busy on things that are far more important. Like I'm working on paying for a house in full for us. I'm working on investing for us. Manicures are a nice, what's the opposite of necessity? Extra thing. Okay. It's a nice extra thing that if a man could pay for it, then great. But he definitely he's not, put it this way. A man's not emasculated if he doesn't pay for his woman's manicures when they're not together, when they're not married. Okay. If I was dating my wife in the financial position that I'm in now, yeah, I would, because I got money and it doesn't matter. And that's a fun little treat to be spending extra money on my wife for. So it really depends. And of course, a woman can't have any entitlement whatsoever to something like that. That is like 100. I mean, she shouldn't for anything, but especially not something like that. It's just a gift. And she should receive it as such and not expect it. May I know what makes you a radiant and feminine woman? Okay, well, I mean, that's very multifaceted. One is a woman is fully in her heart. Like she's not dissociated. She's not just disconnected from her feelings. She doesn't have walls around her feelings. She's just fully connected to her feelings and she's expressing them. Whatever she is feeling, she's not holding them back. She's always willing to share, not to manipulate, not to control. Just like, I need to share. I need to share my feelings, good or bad. Like that's just who I am. So that's one thing. Another thing is that she's not going to be controlling anything, right? She's not going to be trying to lead covertly or overtly. She's just expressing what she's experiencing, her feelings, expressing her needs, expressing everything without trying to get any kind of outcome at all. So she's very much in flow. And it's going to feel like very girly. Like, I compare feminine women to like 5-year-old girls a lot of the time because 5-year-old girls, unless she has really bad parents, typically have not been deeply wounded yet, right? So they still have that innocent, free, flowy, fun kind of energy. Now, of course, they can, 5-year-olds can also still be really obnoxious and leading and doing all of that stuff as well. So it's not a perfect analogy because a truly feminine woman in her radiance wouldn't be controlling anything. What else? Those are two of the really, really big things. She needs to be fully in her self-worth to be able to communicate all of her needs and feelings and everything, right? Where she's not holding back in any way. So a man can feel that worth. And if he can't, he's just not going to be inspired to take care of her. So if they said to me, I'm to pay for drinks and he pays for meals, what do we say back as a woman? You share your feelings. You got to ask to share your feelings. And then you share exactly what you're feeling. Right? How do you feel? You got to really be connected to those feelings and then share. And then there's going to be a longer conversation after that because typically a man is not going to shift just hearing that a woman feels sad or anger or shame or whatever she feels. There's going to have to be a longer conversation. And that's something that we really go into detail with in our program, in our academy program. Is a Is it a red flag for a woman that's dating for marriage to entertain a guy who says up front that he's only has 25 US for their first date? I mean, probably. I mean, that's certainly far less than the ideal. Um, I mean, where are you going there? McDonald's or something for $25 for the two of you? But it also depends. Like, to be fair, I would always take women on coffee dates for my first date. Why? Because I don't want to invest in a woman spending, and I would do this still, even not being a cheapskate anymore. I would still do this if I was single, because I don't want to waste a whole bunch of money on someone that I don't know, that I have no, like, even if I had a phone call and everything, I don't know them enough to want to spend a whole bunch of money on dates. If I'm going to be dating a reasonable number of women to find the woman that I want to claim, so that would be fine. And of course, it's also is going to depend on what he's doing with the rest of the money. Is he have a terrible job and he's not actually going to be able to provide for you because he doesn't have his money handled yet? Did he just put a big payment down on a house and so he's being really conservative right now? I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. But that is definitely potentially problematic. The other thing too, though, I will say this, is both, and this is more of a man thing, because I've never really met many women that have an issue with this. It's not like you need to spend a ton of money on dates, right? Like, you can do things for cheap or for free and still have an amazing time if you're somewhat creative about it. It's like men have this hang up around these. It's like, I don't want to spend $100 on a date for a woman. Okay, don't. Who the hell said that you had to? You don't have to spend, I would take women to little fun hole in the walls that were relatively cheap. They didn't cost a lot of money, and they were actually way more fun than going to an expensive restaurant with a bunch of uptight people all around me that's not really my scene at all. It doesn't matter how much money I have, it'll never be my scene. I don't like those people. So you can, but it's kind of weird that that conversation would even be brought up. I don't know how it came up. Did he say, I only have $25 to spend on a date? That's actually the biggest red flag, is that he said anything about it, rather than just, hey, I'm taking you out, I'm picking you up here or whatever, and then he takes you wherever. Though, like, yeah, it can get complicated too, right? Where if you're going somewhere and then a woman wants to spend a bunch of money on expensive drinks or something, so that's something as well. There's a lot of nuance to this. So there is something to be said for a man to be clear on expectations right from the start as well. Just really depends on what his mindset around that was. Could be potentially very problematic. Yeah, there are guys that will be upfront with giving a stingy vibe. Yeah, exactly. Men reinforce this for one another. I've heard them chatting about the transactional. There are a lot of broken, emasculated men out there, I guess. I won't date them. Yeah, unfortunately, there really, really are. And so the last thing I'll say about this is just, not every man is going to have a ton of money. They could be great men. They could be working on themselves, have a great mindset, and they just don't have a ton of money. I get that, right? I fully understand that not every man's making, $100,000 plus a year. But he doesn't need to. Like, he literally doesn't need to. Most women, like, I'll say the vast majority of women, are going to be totally cool with a man who is trying his best. He's working on becoming a provider. He just doesn't have much money, but he's putting that energy into being creative, being fun with dates, going on a picnic, going for nice walks, going to hole in the wall restaurants, all that kind of stuff. It's not the money, unless a woman's truly a gold digger. It's just the effort that he's putting in to be the leader, to take charge of the situation, to show that she matters to him in some kind of way, right? But a woman needs to also communicate that she matters, that she's worthy enough of being taken care of, so that she's not attracting these wrong kind of men and enabling these kind of men as well. So last thing. There's a lot here, right? For single women, I mean, for any woman, but single women that are dating men today that are dealing with these kind of situations, It can be really challenging in the very messed up, inverted world that we live in today. Very difficult, very challenging. We got many messed up mindsets that men have. And, especially for women that fully haven't made those shifts yet, like really shifted into their radiance, it's difficult because they're going to be dealing with the wrong kind of men and get often getting stuck in those kind of situations that are very uncomfortable and where she's potentially dishonoring her heart. And then if a man's not fully, what do you do, right? What do you do? How are those conversations going to go? How do you inspire a man to want to take care of you because you are just so radiant and your feminine self-worth is so online, and you're able to communicate everything that you're experiencing, everything that you need in a way that he understands, where he actually cares. He actually wants to shift himself because he gets it. And you weren't teaching it to him in any kind of way. You weren't saying, "Oh, well, Zach Rohde, the polarity coach, said to do this, and I don't want to be masculinized, and you're being emasculated," because that's definitely not going to work, right? You need to know how to communicate this stuff, to shift these behavior patterns, to shift what you're experiencing. And for any woman in that kind of situation, the best thing that you can do to make it so much easier on yourself is to just get support. Right? And that's what I do, right? That's what I help. One of the many things that I help women with is to be able to inspire a man to want to provide for her financially. Right? Imagine how good it would feel to never ever again have that conversation where a man's leading you to split a bill, split a grocery bill, split an electricity bill, split a date bill, because he just loves providing for you, not out of obligation, but because he just loves it, because you've inspired that in him. That's possible for you to do. I don't care where you are right now as far as that masculinization, feminine spectrum, the self-worth spectrum, whatever. I don't care where you are. I care about how willing you are to get to where you can go, to your potential. And if you can feel like that you want this support, you don't want to do this on your own, that you got a long way to go, you got a bunch of shifts to make, that making a whole bunch of mistakes on your own and figuring this out by trial and error really doesn't make sense. How many years do you want to waste trying to figure that out, right? You want to have the man of your dreams this year, or do you want to have them years from now because you screwed things up over and over again because you didn't know how to communicate this stuff? You didn't know how to fully be in your heart. If you want support and this resonates for you, and you can feel like, yeah, working with me, that could potentially be amazing, reach out to me. Send me a private message on Facebook. You know what we do? I'm going to tell you what we do. By working with me, by working with my team, you're getting the feedback that you wish that men would give you, right? But they either don't know or they're too scared to give it to you. They wouldn't be able to explain it anyway. What we're doing, the main thing that we're doing, is telling you whenever you're doing anything that is even mildly disrespectful or mildly dishonoring for your heart, we tell you, here's what you're doing. Here's why. Lovingly, right? We're full of love. We'll tell you with love. And then here's how you can shift this instead. Here's what you can say. Here's the words that you can say to communicate this need. Here's the words that you can say to communicate this problem, this feeling, this desire. We do that over and over and over again. We practice with you. It's kind of like you're going on dates with us in our group over and over and over again, right? Because that would be the ideal if you were actually going on dates with men that were giving you this feedback. You'd be shifting really, really quickly. You'd have that devoted, dominant man really quickly. But men don't know, or they're too scared to tell you. We're not too scared to tell you, and we do know. I'll show you how to master this feminine communication, how to fully open into your radiance, fully open into your vulnerability, fully shift into your feminine self-worth. That's pretty damn cool. We'll save you years and years, and for some women, decades, literally decades, of your time, of your energy, of the pain that you'd be experiencing by making mistakes, of not having the man of your dreams to provide for you, to take care of you. Imagine the amount of stress we would take off from you, not having to provide, not having that stress of needing to take care of yourself because you inspired a man to do it instead. What's that worth to you? Really think about what that's worth to you. You really want to try figuring this stuff out on your own. It's a lot harder than it seems. It really is. Make it easy for yourself. Reach out to me so we can help you. We'll have a conversation. Just send me a message. Tell me, I want the relationship of my dreams. And then I'll lead you from there. Let's talk. All right. That's it for this one. See you for the next video.